ones that came to the hadith. But like I said, as time went by, scholars felt the need to elaborate. So you might find, books with scholars saying, having mentioning 30 levels of iman, certain kinds of iman, or 70. Imam al-Bayhaqi, rahimahullah, famous imam, one of the hadith collectors, has a book called Shu'ab al-Iman, the branches of iman. And it mentions at least 72 branches of iman. Again, the idea of this is to what? Elaborate, explain, so people don't fall to shirk. And especially nowadays, over the past years, we've seen so many different groups, doing things. For example, going to the grave and praying to a righteous man, a man they thought was righteous. And he might have been righteous. They go and they pray to him. They're saying, "Oh Sheikh, make it easy for me to marry this woman. Oh Sheikh, make it easy for me to get this job. Oh Sheikh." This is shirk. This is the opposite of tawheed. This is associated partners with Allah. You don't pray to a dead man. We don't ask the Prophet who's dead, alayhi salam, "Oh Muhammad, do this for me." We don't do that. And if you want to ask someone, why are you asking the Sheikh? Ask Muhammad, he's better than the Sheikh. But even then, it's wrong. It's wrong to ask the Sheikh, and it's wrong to ask Muhammad. It's wrong to ask Musa. We don't do that. We go straight to Allah, and the Prophet ﷺ taught us. So we don't commit shirk by asking others to do things that only Allah can do. If I ask you to help me, to give me a ride, to the masjid, that's okay. I can ask you, yeah, because it is something within your means. But if I ask you to, bring my daughter back to life, that's shirk. Only Allah can do that. All right? I mean, the idea that the tawheed of Asma and Sifat is a very slippery rope for those who do not want to stick to the basics. And the basics of this branch of tawheed is that you take it as it is and don't seek what's behind it, because you'll never attain what's behind it. So don't try it. Don't put yourself in a predicament where you might easily go astray when you don't have to. Stick to what you're commanded to do. We hear and we obey. The Prophet ﷺ did not go beyond a certain level, and which brings to mind the hadith about some Yemen Christians from Yemen. Yemen had a history of Christians and Jews during the Prophet's time, and they came one day. They heard about the Prophet all the Yemen, and they came as a delegation to ask him a very important question, very critical question. They said, "Muhammad, tell us about this Islam. How did it all begin? How did it, this thing about God and heaven and earth and hell, and how did it all begin? Allah and creator and God. How did it all start? And he didn't give a long answer. The first thing he said, "Can Allah? There was Allah. Can Allah? There was Allah. And Allah created the pen to write all that's going to happen." And the Prophet ﷺ did not go into details. Well, there was Big Bang and this and that. No, can Allah? There was Allah. And he comes from that. In other words, if the Prophet ﷺ started from can Allah, there was Allah, it is not for us to go beyond that. I remember when I being a Christian, Seventh-day Adventist Christian back in Jamaica, it used to be forbidden for us to ask, how did God come about? Who created God? In other words, we would be spanked for asking such questions in church. If we said, okay, God created me and my parents and then my grandparents, and well, who created God? How did God come about? We couldn't ask those questions, which is the same kind of thing we have in Islam. You don't ask those questions because we don't have the answer. The answer was not given to us. So don't go beyond what was given to you. Can Allah? There was Allah, and everything is from that level. Scientifically, we call ourselves creationists. We believe in the theory of creation. In some circles, you can call it theory of creation. We believe in creation. We don't, as Muslims, we don't believe it's a theory per se. But okay, for argument's sake, let's say it's a theory on their level. And I say that on their level because they believe in evolution as the opposite of creation. So there's a creationist and evolutionist. And evolutionists are the ones that believe that the earth, creation evolved from something. And the reason that I say that is that they believe scientifically that the universe is expanding. So if something is expanding, it means that at this moment it's a certain size. 2 seconds after, 2 hours after, it's a bigger size. And it goes on, bigger and bigger. Now, if you extrapolate, if you work backwards, logically, you will come to a point where there was something very, very, very tiny, very, very small. They're saying that this very thing was, they don't know what it was. It was something, based on their theory, that was that had a lot of energy. It was very hot, very dense, a lot of energy. And then boom, a big explosion, the Big Bang. And everything started coming from that. Could be true, we don't know. I mean, Allah speaks about, some Muslim scientists say that there's indication that there was something in the Quran about a Big Bang, or something of that nature. Could be true. How Allah created heaven and earth, we don't know. And we're not interested. It doesn't add or subtract from our iman. It doesn't, whether we know exactly how Allah did it or don't, it doesn't affect our iman. I mean, so what? It doesn't affect our iman. So, but the scientists, they have a problem with this theory. They're stuck with this point. In other words, if we extrapolate back, we come to a point where it's again here, Big Bang. The question is, what was before the Big Bang? What was that thing? How did that thing come about? That thing that you said was so dense, so hot, full of so much energy, how did that thing come about? Big question mark. No one knows. They don't know. They draw blanks at this point. Again, I mean, that's similar to us saying, the creationists who believe in Allah's creation, that Allah created things, how we don't know, we're not interested, can Allah, that Allah was and then created. What was before? We don't go beyond certain points, So they have a dilemma because they're trying to find proofs for everything. We're not. We say can Allah, there's Allah created, so we don't have a problem with stopping at a certain level because we know we're limited. So we're satisfied psychologically, mentally. We're not like busily searching for a reason, blah. No, we're not confused about this issue. We say, can Allah? There was Allah made. For them, it's a problem. They go to bed, what if I'm wrong? What if belief in God is right and I'm not believing? They have a big problem. Those who follow the scientific trend in that manner, they have a big problem because, in other words, they have prevented themselves from believing in something until they can find a proof for it, which they haven't found yet. From that time till now, they haven't found this. What is beyond this Big Bang? What came before the Big Bang? They haven't like what's the word? Factually or convincingly come up with an idea, a theory that will explain that. In other words, they're going to spend their whole lifetime trying to find something and they didn't find it. So they're in limbo. In other words, they're going to die in this state, not finding the answer. So the question is, what if those who say there's a God is true? What if that is true? In other words, you spent your whole life trying to find proof of something you didn't. So you die in that state. What's going to happen to you? Well, you didn't believe, so what do you think is going to happen to you? You spend a whole lifetime in evading and avoiding this belief, and then you die on that thing. So you're in trouble. You're in trouble in this life because you didn't practice what the belief in God demands, and you die in this state, not believing. So it's a lose-lose situation for them. It's a lose-lose situation. They lose in the dunya because they didn't obey Allah. If there was a God, they didn't obey that God, and they die in that state. They lose in akhirah. For us, it's a win-win situation. We believe there was Allah. Everything came afterwards. We believe and we practice. So, if there's a God, and there is a God, if there's a God, and we follow that God in the commandments in this dunya, that gives us a good life. I mean, what does Islam ask us to do? Be kind to your parents, be good to people, believe in one God, don't thief, don't steal, blah, 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 blah. All good things. So who's benefiting? We are benefiting. It's good for us, it's good for the society. So it's a win situation for us. If there's a God, we die, and there's a God, there's a resurrection, there's judgment. We who believe and did the right things, we'll be in paradise, we win. So for us, it's a win-win situation. We can't lose. We can't lose. It's very simple. It's a win-win situation. And this begins with Tawheed. This win-win situation begins with Tawheed, externally and internally. Right? اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ادخل جنة مع الأبرار يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. One of the things that most of the ulama in the past have done in their khutbah is recite a couple of verses from the Quran. One of them is a very succinct verse which summarizes Islam in general. Right? It goes something like this: إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. إن الله يأمر بالعدل. Indeed, Allah commands justice. وإحسان, and doing good, doing your utmost in terms of good, and giving to your relatives, and giving to your relatives, whether they're mushrik or kafir, whatever, and giving to your relatives, because giving gifts to your relatives brings the heart, softens the heart, and giving gifts to your relatives, إِذَا إِذَا الْقُرْبَى, giving things to your relatives. وَيَنْهَى, and he forbids shameful deeds, hateful acts, and rebellion. He reminds you so that you can be careful if you do this. إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Indeed, salah prevents you from doing the shameful deeds, shameful acts. If you really make salah 5 times a day, it really prevents you from doing bad things. إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر. And indeed, the dhikr of Allah, remembering Allah, is the most, is the greatest thing you can ever do, because every aspect of ibadah is a dhikr of Allah. Whether you're making salah, whether you're saying the shahada, whether you're making siyam or making hajj, or just reciting some words, this is reading Quran. This is the dhikr of Allah. Wa dhikr Allah akbar.